All right, moving on to the fight against coronavirus. The United States has reached a major milestone in this battle. More than 150 million people are now fully vaccinated, and in New York, more than 70% of the state is fully vaccinated. Governor Andrew Cuomo announced he will not be renewing the coronavirus state of emergency. That is set to expire today. And out west, with one of the highest vaccination rates in the country, San Francisco has become the first major city in the U.S. to announce a coronavirus vaccine mandate. This gives city workers an ultimatum: get the vaccine or lose your job. Dr. Leo Nissola is an immunotherapy scientist and advisor with COVID Act Now, and he's joining us now from San Francisco. Dr. Nissola, good to see you as always.
Good to see you.
So, San Francisco becomes the first major city in the United States to announce this vaccine mandate. It has one of the highest vaccination rates in the country. The city is telling city workers, they're basically giving them an ultimatum that if you don't get a vaccine, you will lose your job. Help us understand the pros and cons of a move like this. I don't expect something like this to happen across the country because in parts of the country there are people who are unwilling to get the vaccine. For example, states like Missouri. So, what are the pros and cons? What should people expect?
Well, it's super complicated, and I think we've talked about mandates before. I'm not a strong believer in mandates at all. I think, especially for adults, everyone should be able to make up their own choice. But I'm with Mayor London Breed here. I think it's important for us to understand that San Francisco, under her leadership, has done extremely well because she has taken these bold actions that actually protect the safety of the population. You see, from flattening the curve to ensuring equity in the vaccine distribution, to ensuring this mandate for workers at the city to protect individuals who are not fully vaccinated, but also individuals who are immunocompromised and have to deal with the fact that when they go out of their house to a grocery store or to walk their dogs, they are still being exposed to the Delta variant, the coronavirus itself, without knowing who is vaccinated or not. It becomes complicated to reopen businesses and to ensure that facilities that take care of people, like healthcare services and government services, are a safe haven for those. So I think it's complicated to talk about mandates, but still, at this time, during a pandemic, we have to think as a community rather than my own personal wishes. So in that sense, I think it took a lot of care and thought to come up with this mandate, but I think it's the right thing now.
New York City doesn't have a vaccine mandate. With more than 70% of New York State vaccinated, can you just help us understand how realistic herd immunity is in places with high vaccination rates like New York and San Francisco? I don't even know if we're still having a conversation about herd immunity, but maybe you know what, I'm going to rephrase that question. Is herd immunity still the goal?
I think the goal is to get us out of this pandemic. The global goal here is to get us as much as normalcy as we can possibly allow with the situation that we are living through today. So New Yorkers have suffered a whole bunch through the course of this pandemic with a staggering number of deaths. So I think they're very much looking forward to have all the restrictions eased. In the same sense, I'm concerned a little bit because New York is such a big airport hub that allows for flights to come in from all parts of the world. And with the Delta variant being the most prevalent variant in different parts of the country and in different portions of the world, if we don't take a proactive measure into understanding if people that are coming into the United States also are carrying coronavirus's new variants and strains, while we still have a population that is unvaccinated, it is a little bit concerning. But I do think that herd immunity is one goal, perhaps not the most important goal at this point.
So, Doctor, I wonder, and we've talked about this before, but when do you expect this to have full FDA approval? If for the people, I'm specifically now thinking about these city workers in San Francisco, given that that city is doing increasingly well, the state of California is doing very, very well, but to have this sort of mandate put into place, I do worry and wonder about those who say, look, for whatever reasons that they may have, They don't want to receive the vaccine, and perhaps part of the reason is because it is now only approved for emergency use. Wouldn't we alleviate at least some of these concerns by the FDA giving full approval? So where are we in that process, and when could we expect that FDA approval to come?
I think that's an extremely good and important point. You see, we are following very closely the data that is coming out from the real-world studies from these vaccine trials, but also from the population that has already been vaccinated. And so far, although we don't have a vaccine that is empty of adverse events, we are seeing that it's safe and efficacious for a very big group of people, including against the Delta variant. So in that sense, we expect the FDA approval to occur within the next few months. But also, it's important to acknowledge that the CDC and the FDA has been doing a terrific job at ensuring data transparency and ensuring and addressing concerns that the population have around the safety of the vaccines and also the benefits of getting vaccinated.
Doctor, with the CDC announcing new information about mRNA vaccines linked to heart inflammation, how do you see this playing out among families once younger people, 12 years old and younger, are eligible for the vaccine?
Yeah, so we saw the case of myocarditis, the inflammation in the wall of the heart, that it's occurring naturally without the vaccine in at least almost 2 people out of 1 million. And now with the vaccine and a specific subgroup, you're seeing an uptick there. What's important for me here is that we are addressing these issues. The FDA, the CDC, and the drug companies are being very transparent about this data. And so far, what we have learned is that these occurrences are less severe than those who have not received the vaccine and still have myocarditis. So one important point here is that the companies, the CDC and the FDA, are working hand in hand to ensure that we know what the data looks like. And the clinical raw data from these patients that have been affected with this condition is looking like they need less treatment, less invasive treatment, and a shortened time in the hospital.
Doctor, on Wednesday, the University of Oxford announced the world's largest clinical trial of possible COVID-19 treatments for recovery at home and in other non-hospital settings. That's begun in the UK. They're studying the safety of a broad spectrum of anti-parasitic called Ivermectin. What do we know about this drug? Ivermectin, I'm
So
told.
This drug is a very...
Didn't do well in Latin.
It's a very well-established and safe drug. But remember, clinical trials only exist for us to prove if a drug or a procedure or a device works in comparison to a different arm, in comparison to something else. So whether that is a single drug agent or a multiple drug combination, clinical trials are the standard to measure success in drug use. In that sense, it's great that they are conducting this study, because repurposing drugs actually help us to speed up the delivery of potential new treatments. But still, it is important to understand that the trials that have already run and the studies that have been conducted with this specific drug for COVID-19 have been all negative. So I'm not that hopeful about that specific treatment, but I do think it's important for us to pursue science in the quest for answers to our questions.
All right, Dr. Nissola, as always, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.